So underwater vegetation, or grass, or weeds as we call it, you have it in your lake, but you don't know what to do about it. Let's talk about it. Well, what is going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of TRF. Today we are in beautiful Minnesota, my first day here in Minnesota for the 3 weeks that I'm going to spend here. Hopefully this chainsaw in the background isn't too loud. I did not bring my on-body microphone with me today, but as you saw by that little intro and such, we're going to talk about grass fishing, and not just about grass. We're going to talk about areas, ponds and lakes, where the grass has basically overrun your entire pond. I had a DM, I forgot who DM'd me, so I apologize that I can't give you guys a shout out, but someone shot me a DM on Instagram about 2 weeks ago asking, how do I fish a pond that has been completely overrun with grass? There's grass, covering almost every surface, and that can, of course we'll talk about different types of grasses, but what I assume he means by grass is a grass like this, a hydrilla, milfoil, coontail, that kind of thing, even lily pads that have completely covered your pond due to mismanagement or just because the grass has grown that fast. And so we're going to talk about some of the tips on what I have to catch fish in situations like that, some myths about grass that I want to dispel really quickly, and then of course some fish catches as well. So make sure you guys stay to the end. We're gonna have some awesome fish catches of myself and Mr. Sam Moore. Sam, come lean down and say hello. There we go. Sam is a videographer up here in Minnesota, has a cool little media company that him and a bunch of guys film some content for companies and such. So if you're in need of a media company, don't hire me because I'm a dingus, hire this dude. But as the topic of this video goes, we're gonna talk about grass. Now, the first misconception that a lot of people have, especially me starting off fishing, 9-10 years ago, and my dad for basically his whole fishing life, is that grass equals bad. And of course, grass equals no bass. That's what a lot of people think. But one thing that I want to dispel right away is that grass is not bad. Grass is actually, in my opinion, the best underwater structure you can have for bass fishing. Grass really... Oh, you got one? He's got one. See, look, grass equals good.
I mean, it's a giant, dude.
That's a bite. Oh, he's got a big one. Get him in the boat. Get him in the boat. Holy cow. Oh my gosh, see?
Oh, baby!
Grass does not always equal big, but grass does equal bass.
I mean, maybe they eat grass too. There's like some grass in there with them.
Yeah. You know what? I eat grass too.
Oh, God. What does that taste like? I was gonna say, like, did you actually do that?
That is nasty.
Let's get back to it.
Okay, well, yeah. So, grass does equal bass. Not always big bass, but in my experience, of course, grass, if you guys didn't know, I'm not a biology guy, but I do know that grass filters water, so of course it makes water clearer, and it also adds more shade and oxygen situations for these bass, because a lot of grass holds oxygen and bubbles and such. And so, if you have a situation, whether it's a pond or a lake, and you have grass, do not shy away from it. When I was first starting fishing, one of the best lakes in the country back in the early 2000s, Lake Austin, full of hydrilla. Like the whole thing was just covered in hydrilla, and I hated the lake because there was so much grass and my lure kept getting stuck in the grass. Well, man up, your lure is gonna get stuck in the grass, but in the wise words of Gerald W. Swindle, if you're not getting stuck, you're not catching bass. And so that's the one thing I want to say from the start. Grass is good. Grass is not bad. There comes a point though where grass can become too much, and so of course that's where, if you are a pond manager or a lake manager, managing your grass with either chemicals, carp, or just gathering the grass can actually be useful, because I think too much grass could be bad. But today we're in a situation here in Minnesota where the grass is covered, I'd say 50% or so of the lake, with some scattered clumps there in the middle. And that's kind of a perfect situation in my opinion for catching bass, because you have a ton of cover for these bass to live and thrive around, and also a lot of opportunities for you to present your lure to these fish. And so one of the ways, especially in the summertime, that I love to target bass is around these shallow clumps, because especially a grass like hydrilla and milfoil, it will what's called top out, where the grass will grow from the bottom of the lake and it will top out. So it will kind of grow too much. So once it hits the top of the water, it forms a mat, and that mat can form any sort of habitat for the whole ecosystem. So whether it's tiny little plankton, the bluegill, and of course the bass. And in this lake, we have a ton of bluegill. I mean, millions, if not a billion of them in this lake. And so that presents an awesome opportunity for these bass to get big, chunky, and healthy. And so the few tips that I'm gonna give you guys for how to catch bass in the grass, of course, one is get in the grass. Is that a big one?
It's better. I gotta stay up with the dog.
Sam is just giving a clinic.
Oh, it's a freaking
It's a big one? Oh, he got a pike.
Oh.
Okay, well, there's also other fish besides bass. Bass equals pike. I mean, Grass equals pike. If Sam wouldn't keep interrupting me with his fish catches, the first tip I have is to be in the grass, to fish around the grass. And you may ask, what sort of lure should I fish in the grass? And so if the fish are in a topwater mood, basically the only topwater you can throw around grass is a topwater frog. This here is a popping frog. One of the most fun ways to catch fish in my opinion, especially if you can get it all the way up in the grass, give it some pops, and of course those fish will come up and straight up annihilate it like they did right here.
Oh my gosh, that was so sick, dude. He came 2 feet out of the air.
He big?
Unbelievable. I mean, he's a little better, but not really. Same kind of caliber.
And they'll come up and just straight annihilate it. So definitely love throwing a topwater frog, and that is of course when the fish are you know, underneath the cover. And a lot of people I've talked to, they only throw a frog in open water, which, you know, open water frogging can work and can definitely be cool and is a technique that not a lot of people try. But I've met people that never throw a frog over the thick of the stuff. They imagine that a fish would never be able to even see their lure, let alone get their mouth on it. But that's actually not the case. Bass are incredibly good at exploding through the top of a mat of grass, getting your frog somewhere in their mouth, and then going back down into the grass. And so if you guys want to see a frog instructional video I did, it will be linked up here in this corner. But a topwater frog is definitely one of my favorite ways to catch fish in grass. But the way that we caught them today, and one way that I'd say will work the majority of the time, is leaving a Texas rig aside. Most of the time you have bluegills in a grass lake. I rarely have found a lake that has grass that doesn't have bluegill, and so a jig or a chatterbait or swim jig is one of my favorite ways, especially to catch active fish. And so today we were throwing, to match the, you know, match the hatch, match the color of the bluegill, I was throwing a green pumpkin chatterbait. And I'll also link a chatterbait instructional. I'm sure I've made one in the past up here in this corner. But a chatterbait is a great way to target those fish on little isolated clumps and what I call roadways. So it's not literally a roadway, but it is a roadway that a fish will take to go from area to area, because it takes effort for them to swim, of course, through all of the weeds. And so they're going to take the open areas to get from, you know, wherever they live to the next place, or ambush point to ambush point. And so basically Sam was throwing a, you were still throwing, right, swim bait?
Yeah, a little.
He was throwing a little, you know, Kitech swim bait with a little tungsten weight on the front, and I'm throwing a chatterbait. Basically the same thing, mine just makes a little more vibration and noise than his does. And so that's my favorite way to catch these fish, and of course the way that I'm talking about today. And going back to the DM that I got, if you have a pond that is overrun with grass and you're a bank fisherman, the best thing that I would say to do is throw a frog or throw a punch rig. And so if you don't have ability like we do in a boat to kind of go in and out of the lanes, you're gonna have to fish areas that the fish are in from the bank. And so one of the only ways to do that, if you have some thick grass, is to throw, and if you're not used to this, get used to it, because it's an awesome way to catch them as well, a 1 ounce punch weight. And I'll also include a punch instructional that I've done up here as well. And that is a good way to get your lure inside the grass. I'm not saying throw it to the outside edge and let it drop in the open water. You want to throw this in the thick of the thick. And so, like I said, I have instructionals for how to do all this sort of stuff, and I'll be making them, you know, throughout this Minnesota trip. But I say we hop into a few fish catches with a little more instruction on how to catch these fish. Of course, show you guys how these fish are caught, and we'll see you guys at the end.
40 stills. I'll take one from the 10 to 20 range that I like. Oh, he's got one!
I didn't want to interrupt your sentence.
No, first Minnesota. Oh, giant, flip it, get that in the boat. Just steam around. And eat for the W. Get around. Pow, baby! Pow! Oh, no. That's what we get.
Dang it!
Oh, he's got him. Oh, he's got him, baby. Is that a better fish?
It's running at me like crazy.
Oh, that could mean it's a better
one.
Oh,
gosh.
Dude.
Oh, yeah, that grass. Oh,
it's a pike.
It's a pike.
Son of a gun, dude.
Boo.
We both definitely thought that was a giant.
Boo, I'm taking my glove off. Get out of here.
Hoover, Murray, there we go.
That's a pike.
It's
gotta be. Oh, no, it's not a pike.
Dude, let's go.
It's a largemouth.
Get in the boat,
I thought that was a pike. I didn't get a good thumbnail. There we go. Got it. Got the thumbnail. Oh no! It's in the grass on the trolling.
No, it's not.
Pull up your trolling.
Get it up. Get it up, dude. Are you? Oh, there it is. There it is. You're good.
It's in the grass on the trolling motor.
Other side. You got it now.
In my attempt to get a good thumbnail, oh, it's a chunky chunk.
Dude, that's
they're on the inside. They're on the inside edge.
He hit that on the inside, eh?
1 sec.
Heck yeah, dude. Oh, so sick.
That's one heck of a thumbnail. Is my camera pointed toward it?
Oh yeah, you're good. Yeah.
Oh, well the lights.
Silhouette, silhouette. Turn a little bit more.
I'm just gonna turn all the way around.
Boomstick, baby.
And I'll turn my hat around.
Boom. That is a grassy fish.
That is a very grassy fish.
Heck yeah, dude. Good stuff. We need 5 of them. You hit it on the inside? And what
Yeah.
were you flipping or throwing it?
Nah, it's chatterbait.
Nice. I like that.
Here we go.
So that puppy, we gotta get a picture of her.
Yeah.
I'll let that sun go down and then I'll probably grab the still camera for a little bit too. When you mean on the inside, you mean like...
Chunk. No, I was just saying inside edge in general. Whee! Oh, got him.
Don't be a pike, don't be a pike.
It's a pike.
You've seen that swirl before.
Heyo.
Oh, I was so excited.
All right, folks, hopefully you enjoyed a few of those fish catches. We definitely had a fun day out here. It wasn't a smashing day. We didn't catch 100 fish, but it was definitely fun to be able to pick apart these areas that, of course, from the bank wouldn't have been possible. We couldn't have gotten to these lanes out here, but especially if you have a kayak, canoe, john boat, whatever you have, get out on your ponds, because most often the grass is not going to cover 100% of the pond. Sometimes it does, and in that case, I would say punch frog or leave the pond alone. There's not much else you can do, but fishing around the grass is the best tip that I can give. And the combo that I was throwing the chatterbait on today is the TP1 Black Speed Stick 7.3 medium heavy, some 17-pound fluoro, which up here in Minnesota isn't the smartest because we have pike and thick grass. So usually you throw it on straight braid if you are fishing in like the thick of the thick. But today I got away with 17-pound fluorocarbon. I think this is Seagar and Vizex fluorocarbon, and then I have the Tournament Pro reel. All of the stuff will be linked below in the description, as well as my frog combo that I talked about. But that is all we have for you guys today. Again, I hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe to this channel. If you're from Minnesota and you're just now seeing this content, welcome. I'm a Texas boy, a Texas y'all. Sweet tea and T-bone steaks, and I'm actually hosting a meetup, and I will have the details right here. It'll be at the Cabela's in Rogers, Arkansas. No, wait, Rogers, Minnesota, not Rogers, Arkansas.
That was funny.
Rogers, Minnesota, and I don't know the date yet, but it'll be posted here. I'm giving away like hundreds of dollars worth of stuff. I have an entire tub of fishing lures and such. I'm giving away 2 loose combos. It'll be a good time, so I hope to see you there, and we'll see you all in the next episode of TRF. Grass, grass, grass. We're gonna talk about it today.